Bottom line is our team has got to learn that it's one thing to want to play defense, it's another thing to be in this spot, but we've got to learn how to take things away. And we're not doing a very good job of really understanding scouting reports, strengths and weaknesses of teams, and we've got to get that figured out in a real hurry. And we're asking a lot of these guys in the sense of the intensity. Awareness is still is an ongoing issue, constantly defensively to get better at. We're building that awareness, but it's got to be built to the level where we can really take things away from people. And if the scouting report says he goes over his right shoulder 95% of the time, then he's probably going to go over his right shoulder 95% of the time. And we got to take that right shoulder away, or we got to take the left hand away, or we got to switch out when we're supposed to switch out. So I have high expectations for what these guys can do because they're really working hard. We've had a good week after losing the game the other night of coming back on Tuesday and being and really working to get better. Being together Wednesday, even though it was an off practice day, having a really good day yesterday, sharp today, and their hearts and minds. Hearts are in the right place. Minds got to get in an even clearer place when it comes to scouting report. Defense. Offensively, we had 50 points at half. I thought we could have had 70. We weren't getting it. It wasn't that we weren't moving the ball. We were doing a good job with that. We weren't doing nearly a good enough job on the defensive end to turn those into fast break baskets. And we didn't push after makes the way that we need to. So I hate that term work in progress, but I really don't have a better one for where we're at 6 games in. It's still a team that's 60% new to college basketball, with the exception of Nick's not new to the game, but he's new to us. And we've got to keep understanding that all the nuances of the game when it comes to the scouting reports, when it comes to what our game plan is defensively, whether we're switching, whether we're in zone, and so much of that stems from communication. So outside of Yogi and for the most part Colin and at times Robert, that we got to get a lot better defensively. Offensively, we can get shots. Our ball is moving. They were doing a great job at taking away the middle of the floor on the break, and so we got the ball into the corners, got it driven out of the corners. We were getting what we wanted in that sense. We've got to do a better job of demanding the ball in the post up, when we post, and in the middle when we flash, and we will. I thought we played a more downhill game, even though they did a better job of taking away the elbows. But they want to get better. There's talent there to get better. But when you're moving and playing as many games as we are in this duration, we've got to get the defensive scouting reports down quickly and not let these games be as close as they were.
Terry?
Coach, you've always prided yourself on being a great three-point shooting defensive team, but what was the issue?
Now we got caught up in screens. Our awareness of guys was not as good. I mean, we knew that 70% of the threes were coming from 2 people, and probably 80, 85 when you start to throw in 33, who was 1 for 4 a year ago and was up to 47%. We likened him to Noah, with the sudden surprise threes, that Noah would get, where people would be off and he'd knock down a 3. And he wasn't as much of a factor in the game, but certainly 30 and 31 were. So it became where we weren't as attached as we needed to be defensively. And then when we got caught, we got hung up in some screens. And then it became that we needed to switch. And so it's really, you just got to continue to make the adjustments. And sometimes we did a good job with that, other times that we didn't. But I'll give them credit. They run really good offense. And tonight, that was the best they've screened, that I've seen on film. He's a really good coach. They got a really good staff. I don't know where they're picked, but I wouldn't want to play them in that league. And I mean, they can go inside, outside. They've got the Sadler Tavon Sadler, who can do so many things. But we were just a step late on the threes, and then we weren't in the defensive. We didn't have communication the way we need to have it. So I've got to get that fixed. Every time I think that we're better at it, then I find out we're not. So I got to take full responsibility. It's not on the assistants, it's on nobody else but me, to get our communication right. And whatever that's going to take, we're going to have to get that right, because all it is calling out who you have, and calling out when you switch, and calling out when we switch a defense. And we have a term here, we call it an echo. Everything's got to be an echo. When somebody calls it, everybody else got to echo. And we're not doing a good job of that. Now no one's doing a good job of that. Yogi should be way ahead on that. And we have nobody that's defending with the intent that he's defending at the level he defends. I mean, he can defend anybody. That's why I think he's one of the better guards in the country on both sides of the ball. But our echo and our communication is not good enough. We got to get it fixed quickly.
This is probably kind of a dumb question, but you've talked about just struggling at times to stay in front of guys, to guard the dribble drive. Was there any tonight maybe feeling like guys were a little bit too worried about that and guarding the perimeter, or was this isolated? Was it something separate?
No, this was. I got to watch the film closer, but this was just poor technique coming through the screens. And what we didn't want to do is start the game, switching everything, because we felt that the best way to chase shooters was to get on that outside hip and really run them up or blast the gap. It was a single screen, but on the double screens rather than switch out with our 5-man. All right, we wanted to stay attached. We didn't do a good job of that. We decided in the game we got to switch it because they're getting too many open looks, and then we'd adjust to that. We weren't nearly as focused in the second half defensively as we needed to be. And like I said to Hunter, you can't play 12 minutes the second half, get 1 point and 1 rebound, and be progressive the way that you need to play. That's why it's a process with Hunter. Everything's about building up and becoming more consistent. The moment Hunter thinks that he's arrived at some point, he hasn't. He's got to keep building it up. He's got to have a hunger. Well, we should be able to switch with Hunter. We should be able to switch out with him in his length because he's been here and not have any issues. We should be able to switch at the end of the game when we're in a straight-out 55, switch defense, and Troy's guarding the middle post or middle pick and roll, and Stan's man drives it, switch out onto him. We just covered it 4 times in the timeout. So I don't think it was as being wrapped up in the ball as not being as aware and attentive as we needed to be. And they're playing fast. We played against some very fast teams the last couple of games, which is only going to make us better. But we've got to react as fast, as they're playing defensively, because we're not trying to complicate it. We're trying to simplify it, especially with the switching or staying attached. But you have to communicate it. We're not a team that can just sit there and say we're gonna just play this defense all game long, and if we do well, great. We don't have a shot blocker back there that's going to clean it up. We don't have tremendous length on the perimeter that's going to make up the difference. We had 51 deflections. That was a shock to me because I didn't think we were nearly active enough with our ball pressure. But we're capable of more. So, we're definitely capable of more. We spent a lot of time the last couple of days at really trying to go downhill and defend downhill. And at the same time, we work constantly to take away shooters, and we just didn't do as good a job tonight. And they deserve credit for that, but we also deserve some blame for not being as attentive to where people were. And we just got to keep building awareness, especially with the freshmen.
Mike? It seemed like Emmett was pretty active in stretches tonight. Was this kind of encouraging performance?
Sure, absolutely. I said I think the other day we got to get Emmett in there, and Emmett missed valuable game experience. So that was a real plus. And there's going to be times we're going to have to be bigger. We're going to have to. That's why I went with Troy tonight in the lineup. What we're going to see on Tuesday night is we're going to see some just absolute nastiness on that glass. They are relentless. And they're coming off 2-1 in Maui, and whether it's Randall or Michael Young or all their guards, artists, they get after it. So we're going to have to we've got to be much more attentive, much more physical, and we just have to. So Emmett brings that. Emmett will bring that, and especially as he gets used to the pace of this game, the speed of this game, and the speed of the college game, but he's reacting very well. His quickness has improved. He's improved athletically. And I thought he played pretty comfortable out there.
See?
It's kind of a tricky question, but the second half, the last 2 second halves, you guys have kind of, it's been a good first half, second half kind of falling apart a little bit.
Define falling apart.
Like the other team's been able to kind of change. It seems like they closed the gaps, they made it better games. Obviously Monday's lost, but what is it that the other teams are doing? Is it schematically? Are they changing things you guys are having trouble keeping up with? Is it a matter of just being...
Well, I don't think they're changing things schematically as much as we're losing a little bit of our attentiveness defensively. And the other night it was not being in the proper position on the switching. And bottom line, we won this game. Okay, we lost the other one by 2. I'm not sure it's where it's falling apart, as you say, but we can be a lot better. I don't think there's any question about that. And we can be better offensively. I don't even know what we scored. It wasn't enough. We won the game, but it was not even close to what we could get if we get our defense a little bit better, and we missed some shots that we would make. We've got to get the ball in the lane better, and we will. So it's just a matter of us really continue to learn from the films, get into practice, and really, really be competitive. I think that's one thing that we lost a little bit with playing so many games in so many days, is having those really good, spirited, competitive scrimmage type practices, whether it be 4-on-4 or 5-on-5. We were able to do that. We'll get that going again Sunday, and get ourselves ready for play.
Last question, Mike.
You had 15 boards from your starting guards. I think James had 9. Is that going to be important for you?
Absolutely. Defensive rebounding, guard rebounding is huge, and rebounding in general. I mean, there's no question about it. We've got to build our rebound margin and get it up, and it's got to come from everybody. That's the kind of team we have. So if we're going to play fast and spread the court and be hard to guard on the offensive end, we've got to make up for it on the defensive end. We're getting boards so we can get out and play out on our break. And at the same time, if they score a basket, we've got to get it out of bounds much quicker than what we have. So we're dealing with the, you guys see it, we're dealing with the youth of this to a degree. I mean, it's a very young team, and guys are being asked to do a lot, and I've got to keep that in perspective. But we've got to get this, I'm more concerned, we've got to get the scouting report down. I mean, we got to get down when we're drilling on number 13 is going over that right shoulder. We got to take away that right shoulder. And the bottom line is, our best post defender can't be whatever Yogi is. It can't be just him. It's got to be others, and we've got to take more. What's my word? We've got to take more preventative measures early before they get the ball. Do our work early a little bit, pick up our ball pressure, things like that. That's not the question you asked, but I mean, when you asked about guard rebounding, everybody's got to do a little bit of everything, and that will make us better. All right, thank you.